Is Bitcoin going to make a Bart Simpson on us here? Is it shooting up, staying at this elevated level for a while, simply just to then crash down again? Are we going to see something like this? Because obviously we have already come up quite a while, and we are also now staying at this elevated level for quite a bit. We have seen so far, year to date, an increase of more than 25% in Bitcoin. Now, what's interesting around all of this is, what was the cause of this rally? Was this sudden retail interest, right? Suddenly retail waking up and thinking, hey, I want to buy Bitcoin now and let's all buy this very quickly. I've got my strong doubts about this. I think this rally was not driven by retail. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened so quickly. Otherwise, it also wouldn't have happened during a time when there was little attention, right? This happened on a Saturday night, basically, for most people. The trading volume at the time was very, very low. So the order books are very thin. The short interest was very high, meaning a lot of people were betting on falling prices. So this was the ideal time to do some market manipulation. If you're a big whale and you see a lot of people potentially getting liquidated above a certain Bitcoin level, and you also see very little trading activity, that's a time when you want to deploy your capital. You want to push up the price to then force liquidate those other people that then push up the price even further. This would then in turn mean that this whale might have now deployed a lot of the capital and might want to pull that money out at some point in the future, right? Even whales have limited amount of capital, so they can't push the price up forever, right? They have to sometimes push it up, sometimes push it down, depending on what's currently profitable for them. When there's a lot of shorts in the market, you want to push it up to liquidate people. When there's a lot of people with potential stop losses in the market, you want to crash the price, because then these people also sell for relatively low prices. So depending on where currently the overall retail sentiment is, you want to manipulate the price in your favor, and you mainly want to manipulate it when nobody else is watching, when the order books are thin and when there's not a lot of trading activity happening. So this would imply, given that all this capital is now being deployed, that the whale might want to pull out the capital again in order to deploy it further in the future, right? This would speak for something like a Bart pattern in the future. But here comes the big but. The question is, how much attention does such a rally create among retail? And how confident does retail get that we have seen the bottom? Because we have seen such a very similar rally in 2018. And I want to show what happened afterwards here. So let's go back all the way, right? Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's go back all the way to 2018, where Bitcoin also lost comparatively similar percentage losses to today, right? So more than 80% of a loss, from 20K to 3.5K during this bear market, during this crypto winter in 2018. Now, what's interesting around this is how we actually turned around here, right? This looks like a pretty harmless U-shaped recovery and people accumulating again after we've seen a floor. But this was not harmless at all. This was also a short squeeze, similar to what we have seen just a few days ago. And why do I say this? It's because Bitcoin was in this sideways trading range for quite a while, right? Look at this, quite a nice sideways trading range. And a lot of people at the time here were betting on falling prices. So the whales had a lot of incentive to deploy their capital to push up the price, to then get all these liquidations, all the liquidation fees from these shorts. So then we had this very, very fast rally again on a single day. This kind of a rally is not being driven by retail, right? This is driven by large amounts of capital that just pour into the market. And we see something very, very similar over here when we zoom out again at the end of 2018. So we had our we had our bear market, right? We already went down from the top to this level here, the 6K level, by 70%. Now, when you simply ignore all of these levels and you just look at the following, right? You look at this support. A lot of people at the time were drawing this kind of support level, right? We have seen this price in February of the year. We then revisit the similar levels here again in June. We revisit it again and again. So a lot of people were expecting that this is kind of like the floor and we might be going up from here, right? People thought, okay, we've already seen 70% of a drop. What else could happen? And then we saw the big sell-off of the miners, right? This was the miner capitulation, the people that accumulated a lot of Bitcoin that hadn't yet sold. And this is then where from this level, we saw another drop of 50%. Now, why am I showing you these old charts? It shows that the price tends to move in the direction where the fewest people expect it to go. Most people thought this is the floor, and most people had a stop loss over here at this level. Right? So in other words, if it falls below, I want to be out. If it doesn't, then I want to be taking part of the rally. And because there were so many stop losses at the level, the whales are incentivized to dump their position below the stop loss. Because if it then falls below, then all of these stop losses, they get triggered, people sell for lower and lower prices, and then the whales can buy back for the lower prices. So when you expect a lot of people setting stop losses at obvious levels, then potentially don't follow the masses and don't follow the herd, right? These stop losses, these levels might get broken. And the same is true now for the exact opposite, right? When you think we are in a sideways trading range, maybe the sideways trading range does get broken and the whales just push it above. So how will this continue? It depends. If we are really now just going sideways for a prolonged period of time, then we might really see the crash, because then again, people might be setting their stop losses somewhere around here. And if there are enough people that would be willing to sell once we fall low enough, then we will indeed fall. If, however, we are not going to go just sideways, if we are rather going upwards slightly, right? Then it's not that obvious anymore, because when we look at this again in the past, when we go back and we look at the short squeeze that happened in 2019, right? We see this short squeeze did not deflate. We did not make a BART over here, right? Because we didn't just go sideways, we went slightly higher all the time. So people weren't really setting their stop losses at exactly the same levels. So you would have had to push the price down quite a lot in order to activate any kind of stop losses. At the same time, people also didn't set a lot of short positions here, right? Because we saw higher highs, and so people don't really short that much. So it doesn't make much sense to really push up the price massively either. So this is something I think is really worth noting. It really depends on what we are now doing in the next days, maybe weeks, in the next 1 or 2 weeks, where the whole journey will bring us. If this whole rally has created enough attention on crypto to actually convince some people to dollar cost average in again, to push up the price more and more, and it continues to rather drift up, then I would be very, very bullish on Bitcoin. If it doesn't, if we simply just go sideways for a while, then I do think a crash is relatively likely. What if we simply just deflate a little bit over here? Then I think we just get this random noise afterwards again. Very hard to say what really happens. But on a sideways trading range, very often these break down to the downside. If we have seen such a quick rally in the past, on a slight upwards trajectory, things look way more healthier. So yeah, if you found this useful, feel free to give this a thumbs up. Feel free to also check out the Telegram channels. They are down in the bottom left. So feel free to check that out. And of course, see you in the next video. Bye-bye.